Been live for 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and I don't understand that at all. What? Okay. I don't think I'm supposed to have been live, but anyways, we're live now. I hope I didn't go live before. The Dallas Mavericks lose 106 to 99, and I am flabbergasted. If you're like me, you're probably shocked. I picked the Dallas Mavericks to win this series. Now they're down 0-3. A lot of really stupid shit happened in this game, and we got to talk about all of it. This is not going to be the typical live because I am working on a new interface. Not really sure how to navigate all of this on a super small screen, so you'll bear with me. There aren't going to be any post games and stuff like that. But there is going to be this, and this is an abysmal recollection or retelling of what happened in this game. Dallas Mavericks come off to a much better start. We were asking for help for Luka Doncic, and tonight Luka Doncic got a little bit of help, right? We got a little bit of help from Kyrie Irving. He comes out, they play really big off of each other. You got just a really hot start from those two. They score 9 points apiece to just get the Mavericks out to a good start, and everything was clicking Dallas for the first quarter, for the first 7 minutes. And then it starts to crumble, right? You start to get back to back defensive possessions. A lot of stupid defense from the Dallas Mavericks, a lot of really just breakdowns defensively. Chief among them is probably going to become a meme. Kyrie Irving losing Jalen Brown in the corner, plays the gap perfectly. Jalen Brown gets behind him. He's just there. I mean, just court mapping, losing Al Horford constantly. Um, just a lot of sleepwalking defensively. I think there's a couple key things that I would point to in terms of why Dallas lost this game. First of all, Kristaps Porzingis doesn't play, and Dallas settles for a ton of jumpers. Luka explicitly. I'm trying to be a little bit careful with how much I criticize Luka for his performance here, defensively and offensively, settling for a lot of jumpers, etc. Because a lot of those jumpers were not falling because he is in a tremendous amount of pain. And I did a little bit of a deep dive into the injury that he's at, and wow, like I mean, what he's playing through right now is seriously dangerous. And I'm not making excuses for the guy. I'm not making excuses for the Mavericks. They shot themselves in the foot in this game. A lot of cheapy fouls. Luka Doncic fouls out his first playoff game ever in the biggest game of his life. You know, I mean, how do you explain that, right? Was that a charge? I don't know. But if you're Luka Doncic, you're probably not going to get a charge call, right? You're not going to get a charge call on Jalen Brown. I think it was a pretty bang bang play. The commentators, Doris Burke, JJ Redick, seemed to believe that Luka was out of position. Hard to say in that moment, right? I think you're in a position right now, if you're Dallas, where you're going to look back at this and you're going to say, we missed two very winnable games here. There's a world in which Dallas is up 2-1. I think there's a lot of people who picked the Celtics who are going to say everyone who didn't pick the Celtics is stupid, right? And I'm not saying that the people who didn't pick the Celtics right now probably feel stupid because the team is down 0-3 and probably has no chance coming back in this series. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't act like this is the only way this series could have gone out. There's a lot of stuff that Dallas Mavericks have done to self implode, right? Constant, difficult offense, really difficult offensive process for the Dallas Mavericks, right? Everything is 6, 7 dribbles contested. Luka missing tons of layups at the rim, just a lot of shit contested, right? Dallas does stage a massive run in the fourth quarter. With about 10 minutes to go, they were down 20, 21, 22 points. They pull it back to get to within 3, right? And a lot of that was the self-infliction of, a lot of dumb plays by Boston. Now, I referenced, and if you follow us on Twitter slash, Pensare Basketball on Twitter, Pensare B-Ball on X, you know that right when Jason Kidd called the timeout, I believe it was 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Luka had still not fouled out at that point, and he picked up 5 fouls, and Drew Holiday took an ill-advised jumper, and the Mavericks were set to jump out in transition. And sometimes coaches take these fouls just to steady themselves because they're not happy with something or emotionally. I apologize. I'm really my throat is killing me right now, and the cold water is not helping. Give me one sec here. This is not gonna be one of my better videos. I apologize. Um, so yeah, so I mean, I just feel in that moment that Boston was crumbling, like really crumbling. And if you're a coach, you can feel when your team really needs to just take a pause. You don't need to say anything. You just need to give them a moment to just stop doing what they're doing and recalibrate. Momentum is amazing thing in basketball, and runs can feel endless until someone stops them. And timeouts are a good way to stop runs. And I believe that Jason Kidd pretty much iced his own team with that timeout. I understand that you're not happy with what your team did the other side, but man, the momentum was firmly on the Mavs. The crowd was with them. Everything was going right. There was no reason to call that timeout, in my opinion. And he calls that timeout, and I said it right there. They were down three at that moment. I'm like, he just lost in the game. I do believe the Dallas Mavericks could have come back and won this game. I do believe Dallas could have won game two. But right now, 0-3, like, you're not coming back from this. It's over. All right. So if you bet Dallas to win this series, I feel for you. I'm sorry, but yes, this is over. It's not going to be anything other than, a gentleman's sweep or a sweep, right? Just Luka is too hobbled, right? Dallas's offense is just cratering. The role players have not shown up in a major way. For the Boston Celtics on the other end, their role players did show up. Their bench showed up. Xavier Tillman was incredible. Not just talking about the three that he hit, but defensively, he made a lot of positive things happen. Sam Hauser, you know, um, Sam Hauser's had a couple of really good games in this playoff series. He was really, really ineffective against the Pacers. The pace of, that transition offense really bothered them. And Peyton Pritchard, he didn't score a single point, but they, as an aggregate unit, three, Jason Kidd emptied his bench. I mean, he was 11 players deep in the first half, right? He went to 11 different players. There are guys, Dante Exum played 3 minutes. Jaden Hardy played 4 minutes. He was searching for anything. Maxi Kleber played 8 minutes. You know how much those guys got together? They got 2 points. Tim Hardaway played 19 minutes, gave you 0 points. What was that about? Was that was that one of those, you've been around here for a while, you're gonna be my savior? I really don't like to pick on coaches. I believe that most NBA coaches are really good at their jobs, and for the vast majority of the time, I think they take a lot of undue criticism. But when it comes down to in-game management, rotations, things that you go to, there's a lot of things that Jason Kidd did not do well in this game and has not done well in this series. Constantly generating these very difficult offensive sets. A lot of Kyrie hate the last 2 games. A lot of people saying like, "Oh my god, he's so trash. He's this, he's that. He's gotta show up." Look, man, Derek White, Drew Holiday, just God-given, like, the best, like, Boston has the best Kyrie defenders on the planet, okay? So, if you're a kid and you're the Mavericks, you gotta get you gotta get somebody else on him, right? And if he gets Xavier Tillman on him, or if he gets Sam Hauser on him, or if he gets, basically anyone but those 2 guys and possibly in certain cases Jaylen Brown, he's gonna have a much better chance of being successful offensively. But if your offense is not generating those switches and generating those mismatches, and you're just kind of clearing out and saying, "Okay, hey, Kyrie, you're sham god. You're amazing. You're great with the basketball. Now go ISO one on one against Derek White as everyone stands around." This type of stagnant offense is absolutely bullshit. It does cut down turnovers, but Dallas, over the last couple of years, they do go into these modes where there isn't a lot of movement and this isolation scoring, and this is just not a recipe for great success. On the other hand, you have the Boston Celtics where it's just anybody's night. Whoever's got it. If Drew Holiday's got it going, bam, go off for 28. Derek White's got it going, go off for 35. Jalen Brown's got it going. It's that it's the right type of basketball that the Boston Celtics are playing. Now, I admittedly was a lot higher on Boston earlier in the season, right? Much earlier in the season, last offseason when they traded for Drew Holiday, when they traded when they traded Marcus Smart, and they eventually ended up getting Drew Holiday, I was like, boom, there goes the championship, right? I had them as like a championship favorite, or I had them returning to the finals against the Denver Nuggets. Thought, Drew Holiday gave them a huge edge. I would really respect Drew Holiday a lot. That being said, as the season wore on, there were moments where I just felt this was a very immature team. They did things that just kind of stunned me. Being in a 2-point game with Detroit when you should have been clobbering that team when you were pretty healthy. Things like that, they left an impression on my mind that this is a team that is going to self implode. I don't think anyone should have doubted that Boston was the most talented, overall, deepest, best defensive, offensive two-way team in the league this year and going into the playoffs. I think a lot of people, justifiably, correctly, rightfully so, had some concerns about history repeating itself and not wanting to be wrong again about this team. Because I think a lot of us, sane people picked this team to beat the Miami Heat last year, and they didn't. And I think a lot of people picked them to close out series that they effectively haven't closed out. I think time and time again, when you keep picking a team to do something and they don't do it over and over, you develop a bad taste in your mouth to the point where you stop picking them and you just assume that they're going to choke until they don't, right? Um, and I think that's just a part of it. I think you got to go through that, right? If you're the Boston Celtics, kudos to you. Like they're going to go down as one of the most dominant teams in NBA history. I mean, if they close this out in four, just to put this out, if they close this out in four, they'll become one of two teams in the last 24 years to do what they've done here. Sorry, one of three teams. The other two teams were both dynasties. That was the Golden State Warriors 2017, I believe. They ran roughshod over the entire league. They lost fewer than 3 games on their way to the championship. That was with KD. And it was the 2001 Lakers that lost just 1 game, and they lost it to that Sixers team in game one. And honestly, you could argue they only lost that game because of rust or because of a really huge Allen Iverson performance. It's not common for a team to be this good. And the Boston Celtics have been great. But we, myself included, have just been so busy pointing at how shit the competition has been. But is it possible the competition is just so shit because they're so good, right? Is it possible that, a lot of teams are just kind of looking really bad against them because they're just a really good defensive team? Is it possible that our star obsessed world in which we kind of say, well, Embiid's better than Giannis, or so and so is better than so and so, or LeBron's better than Jordan, our very individualized and obsessive, way of comparing teams comes down to stars, and maybe just perhaps we don't think of Jason Tatum in the same way that we think about Luka Doncic or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander or those other guys. And because Boston doesn't have a Shea or a Luka, like a hyper individual talent, an isolation gunner, even a Damian Lillard type. I think a lot of people, if push comes to shove, gun to their head, I think they would pick Damian Lillard to close out a quarter than Jason Tatum. I think a lot of people would pick about 15 to 25 different players before they pick Jason Tatum. I think people would pick Devin Booker ahead of Jason Tatum in a lot of these situations. So at some point, we have to ask, when did the overrated become so underrated? I don't know. These are questions worth asking. Of course, tactically, I think that Boston did not play the greatest game. I'm being completely fair here. I do believe that there was a lot of self implosion here. Like Luca, I mean, like I'll put one thing on, in terms of Boston doing something right. They have attacked Luca relentlessly, and he has not been competitive defensively in this series. And he is just falling apart at the seams defensively. He goes 1 for 7 from three tonight. Just an awful performance overall. Finally makes his free throws, goes 4 for 4. But the turnovers, 3 turnovers, 6 fouls. I mean, they needed more, right? I mean, he had, I think, 8 turnovers in the last game. So he did manage to cut those down. But man, he had a big one, right? He had a couple big ones. And honestly, when you let a guy drive by, you don't close out strong, or you are just, gambling so much. Like Dallas gambled, like Kyrie gambled, Luka gambled. No one is confusing these guys for all NBA defensive team, but something is just off about this team the last 2, 3 games where they're just not really the same team. And so you do wonder, is it just Boston being this good? Is Boston just this good defensively that they just make teams really uncomfortable? The pace at which they play, Jalen Brown going downhill, Jason Tatum, who had another game where I think, okay, he hit a few threes in the first half. Congratulations. He did pretty well, 31 points, relatively speaking. Well, he shot 11 for 26. That's a third straight game third straight game where Jason Tatum has shot under 50%. He's not going to win Finals MVP here, right? He's not going to win Finals MVP right now. The front runner for Finals MVP is probably Jalen Brown, and after that, it's probably Drew Holiday. He might be third on Finals MVP voting on his own team. Speaks to the depth, right? I'm not sure where Dallas goes from here, man. I'm really not. I'm really not. Now I realize we're literally a week and a half removed from Luka's the best player in the world. No one can stop the Mavericks, and how quickly everything changes, right? And I think the Boston Celtics should be a case study for team building. I think they are a case study for team building. I think they're fantastically constructed team. You know, they have everything. They have everything. They have rebounding, versatility, positional, they have defense, rim protection. And tonight, even with, Al Horford, a lot of people felt like Al Horford was getting schemed off the floor in this series. And I think they've had him switch in 36 possessions, and he has given up a grand total of 22 points, or is it 33 possessions and 22 points? Either way, he's given up like less than zero point 0.7 points per one of those switches, which is friggin' elite, right? And I mean, you lose the possession battle tonight, right? If you're Dallas, Boston takes fewer shots than you. That's a win. Boston finally shoots a respectable percentage from three. They didn't shoot well in the game too, but you were wondering like what was going to happen if they finally get like a half decent game from Jason Tatum, and I think you saw it tonight. But I don't really think that the Celtics played super duper well. I just think a lot of this was down to coaching and a lot of this was bad offensive process. Third quarter, the Celtics came out and they scored damn near virtually every single time down the court. Go look at those plays. Go look at those plays and tell me who's out of position. Go tell me that the Celtics are just so great. It's like, no, man, this is an execution problem. And these are things like that Dallas was not doing earlier. This is a team that was pretty battle tested. I mean, they beat the Clippers. They did beat the Clippers. They beat some pretty good teams here. Okay, like they didn't just go up against chopped liver here, right? So they beat a lot of teams that people thought were very very good basketball teams, and for them to just come up so short in the finals is very disappointing. A competitive finals is good for basketball. It's good for ratings. Okay. At this point, I'm not sure who's tuning in to watch game four. First of all, you have a team, frankly, in the Boston Celtics, and I'm not suggesting that you rig the finals in order to give the fans a desirable outcome, but you do have a team that, frankly, almost nobody likes, right? People are not really vibing with this Boston Celtics team the way they would be with, maybe a Dallas Mavericks team if they were doing well. Um, the storyline is just it's so weird, right? You have this team that is just not that popular. Like I don't know how to explain it. I think it's just because Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum are just not that marketable as stars, like A1 stars. They've never been confused ever with like faces of the league. Like I could draw names from a hat and pick up a more interesting, more compelling finals. And then you have this final series here where at the very least, you were hoping for something competitive that went down to 6 or 7 games and a couple of big Luka bombs or, a 50 piece from Jason Tatum. And I think that, the Boston Celtics are forcing a style of basketball onto us. They're very analytics driven. They're extremely deep. They're a very principled team in terms of their shot quality. And they're really playing basketball on paper right now, right? They really are. This is a team that is fundamentally whooping they're lapping the rest of the league just in terms of, their evolution of thought, in terms of how they've constructed this team. Brad Stevens, uh, and Joe Mazzulla. Like, I mean, it's just fantastic process what they've done here, right? To compensate for the fact that you don't have one of those top 10 players, top five players, really, in Jason Tatum, and to just sort of assemble like a super team in aggregate, right? Jason Tatum has resented this concept of, the Celtics being called a super team. But I mean, what the hell do you call it? You have five of easily the top 50 players in the league. Easily. You have guys who are your fourth or fifth options that would be second or third options on most teams. This team reminds me a lot of, if y'all remember, the Portland Trailblazers in 1999, 2000, 2001, right? where there was just an overwhelming amount of depth and parity across the roster. You had Damon Stoudemire, Steve Smith, I believe, or was it Derek Anderson? You had Scottie Pippen, you had Brian Grant, Rasheed Wallace, Arvydas Sabonis, Detlef Schrempf, and you're just like, oh my God. Do they have a person coming off their bench that should be the third option on a half decent team? Probably. It was just a really rich team with really deep pockets before the NBA cap went insane. And you look at teams like that, you look at teams like Sacramento, with Scott Pollard and Peja Stojakovic, Hito Turkoglu, Chris Webber, Doug Christie, Mike Bibby, like those teams, right? A.O. Gorman saying Bonzi. Yeah, Bonzi came up a little bit later than that. Like I think it was the next year after that Bonzi started coming up on the come up. But I mean, they had even like a lot of interesting youngsters like Jermaine O'Neal, Martell Webster. Like my God, like so much talent across that roster. And you just look at a team like that and you're just like, they never won, you know? Um, and I think that's just because you went up against a team like the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, right? Like over and over again. John Hamilton saying the 2004 Pistons. I think the Pistons are a great example of a team that just had so many good guys. People don't think about the bench. Look at the bench of that team. Go back and really look at that roster. You know what I mean? And I think the Toronto Raptors are a great example. Apart from Kawhi, that's a great example of what the Boston Celtics are doing right now. You have a Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby who didn't play that during the playoffs. Marc Gasol. It's the team building philosophy is 9 deep, right? That's the team building philosophy here. 9 deep. You don't need the tier 1 superstar. You don't need the Joel Embiid. You need 9 really great basketball players, and then you need 1 or 2 of them to be great enough as scorers, like in isolation scoring. Yeah, I mean, you watch Jason Tatum crumble down in the fourth quarter in this game, right? Jalen Brown hits that huge shot, really to just push that lead, I think, to 5. But Jason Tatum was struggling, man. He had a lot of really dumb possessions down. And I've been a very big Jason Tatum supporter, but just like a lot of really sloppy play. Even Jalen Brown, like he struggles sometimes with the creation, handle, he turnovers and stuff. Neither one of these guys is superstar. You know what I mean? Like that Jordan, Kobe, LeBron tier. They're not in that tier. And we've always been told you need one of those guys to win a championship. And the Boston Celtics are showing you a completely different way of doing it. And they're damn dominant. Like, don't confuse them with the '04 Pistons. I love that team, but they were not this dominant. They weren't this dominant. The rhetoric around them was very dominant. They're tough. They're this. They're that. The Boston Celtics are the exact opposite in terms of rhetoric. They're never going to get their credit, but they should. They should because they're a great team. They should because they're a team that's bought into the right stuff. They play the right way. Their offensive process is goddamn near flawless. And apart from the 6 to 8 to 10 times a game, um, yo, Rob, did you see what Embiid tweeted? If you think I follow Joel Embiid on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, you must be nuts. But please do tell me what he said. Um, I don't know, man. It's a tough thing to watch. A series like this. Obviously, the TV rights deal, whatever. I'm curious to see what the ratings numbers are going to be on these finals, but I will venture to guess that given where this series has been here, I don't think this is going to go down as like I think this might go down as one of the least watched finals. I'll be curious to see it. I mean, you do have one of those historical marquee type of franchises in Boston, so you do have like a legacy franchise in the finals, which is great. If they were up against a legacy franchise, that means maybe if this is a rematch, maybe. I'm very curious to see how Denver would have fared, but honestly, it just feels like the entire league just fell apart, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like that? Doesn't it feel like nothing was the way it was? It's one of the weirdest finals, weirdest playoffs I've ever seen in my life. Oof. 2K teacher with a super chat here. I really appreciate this here. Luka is so bad defensively that whatever good he does on offense, it becomes a net negative. Dallas got away with it because no other team could play 5 out and Luka could hide on bad shooters. That is a really good point, 2K teacher, and I appreciate the super chat a lot. And just give a quick shout out to where's my phone here? Give me one sec here. I got to give a quick shout out to two people. I hope y'all are not super shy about. I will not shout out your full names. I'll just shout out your first name. So hopefully, just because I just want to say thank you for this. So to Cynthia, and to Karen, and to James, and to Bryce. So four of you. Um, and hold on, and to Brian. That's five. To five of you who sent e-transfers, thank you so much. Very, very much. I appreciate it. Also, hold on, one more. Gotta get one more shout out here. One sec. Give me one sec here. Appreciate y'all so much. Computer broke today, so we're gonna figure that out. But thank you so much. Hold on, figure this out. And to Sydney, right? Again, first name, no last names. Thank you so much for the Amazon purchase. And to Sean, thank you for the other Amazon purchase. That is very cool. Um, Thank you guys for that. I really do appreciate it. I was telling my girlfriend about this. And I was just like, this is so generous. It's so cool. It's a great idea. Um, you know, yeah. Thank you so much. The NBA, not much, but yo, I'm saying they need a wing defender. Who doesn't? We need Steph in the finals again. That's probably not going to happen. Um, Oak Tree, Luca, when not hobbled, definitely a huge net positive. I agree. He is a net positive. Look, I don't think this is like I understand the space that we work in. I understand the world we live in. I understand all of this. Okay. I understand that because Luca has underperformed in the finals, I have, Muhammad, shout outs to Muhammad, who's literally like on Twitter every single day saying Luca choked again. Luca came up short again. Yo, chill, bro. I mean, where was this last round, right? When he shredded the best defense in the NBA, right? I mean, like we cannot be such prisoners in the moment. This Boston Celtics team is very good. I said it in my preview as well. I should pick Boston. I'm not going to. I said it. I said, they should win this series, but I don't trust them. This is a very good team. It's a very good team. Okay, the Boston Celtics are a really good team. Do I think they're historic best team ever? No, I don't. Okay, I don't. I think there are teams in the league. If a couple things broke right, could have given them a very competitive series, and unfortunately, we're not going to see them have a competitive series. Maybe we need to think about the history of 3-0. Maybe that's something we need to explore why no team has ever come back from 3-0 in the in the NBA finals, much less the NBA playoffs. No team has ever come back. Will Dallas be the first team to come back? I'm going to say it now. No, no, they will not. I don't think so. I'm like 99.8% sure they're not going to be the team to come back. But I do hope that Dallas does extend this series out. Okay. Games. Hmm. It comes down to odds, you see. Every single game is its own thing. You have to win one at a time. You can't win two before you win one, and look, Kyrie was a part of the team that came back from 3-1, and no team had ever come back from 3-1 in the finals at that point, if I recall correctly. So maybe that's the inspirational message that he's going to share with them. Say, hey, we're not going to lose on our home court. Let's play with, pride on the line. And, now you're down 3-1. Now you're back into something that's been done before. Right. And then if you can steal one in Boston, now you're down 3-2. Right. Here's the thing though. Boston almost came back from 3-0 last year, didn't they? They almost came back. They got up to a game 7. They got down 0-3, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to be the message in the Boston locker room. Hey, guys, we were on the other end of this. We nearly choked it. We were the Dallas Mavericks, and we nearly came back. Like I think there's a lot of growth that has been shown. I wonder how much of that growth has come from Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum just maturing and realizing what happened last year. But I also think a lot of that maturity and growth comes from Drew Holiday, right? Drew Holiday is just, yeah. Um, Muhammad saying, I'm assuming a different Muhammad, no more Kleber and Hardaway Jr. minutes. I mean, I agree. I think there's just a talent gap here. It's a significant talent gap in this series, and I think the talent gap is most prevalent between players 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the roster, right? Like, would Sam Hauser be starting on the Dallas Mavericks in place of somebody? Possible. I targeted Sam Hauser as one of the players that I would target if I was the Toronto Raptors. I think he's a pretty damn good player, right? Um, yeah, and I mean, shout outs to Dallas, to Boston again for finding these deep bench guys. They found Xavier Tillman. They did not pay a hell of a lot for him. He was a player that I identified very early, I think 2 years ago when I was talking about trade targets. I kept talking about Tillman from the Memphis Grizzlies, because I just really liked him. And I was talking about him for the Raptors, I believe, last deadline or the deadline before that, before he ended up in Boston. So again, it's just I think the Dallas Mavericks losing is a loss for casual observers, a loss for lovers of isolation basketball, a loss for people who maybe still have like memories of Jordan and Kobe. But I do think it's a win for analytics. I think it's a win for the algorithm, or not the algorithm, but like I think it's a win for math. It's a win for overwhelming probabilities. It is a win for team concept in basketball and shot quality and all the metrics that we talk about on this channel so often, right? It is a win for team over eye, right? So, I mean, that's one way to present it. These finals, we're a team of very deep veterans and good players, but no one individual dominant player. It always tends to kind of suck. It kind of tends to suck it doesn't tend to garner that huge following. People come to see basketball um, because they care about the individuals. I hate to say it, but it's true. But the real game of basketball was always about team. But really think about it. When did the NBA really take off? Magic Bird, right? Magic Bird. Was it Celtics Lakers? Yes. But it was Magic and Bird. It was their rivalry in college. It was their rivalry in the NBA. It was the racial connotations of it. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, you know, Steph Curry. Like these people, of course, they participate in a team sport. They operate in a team dynamic, but no one's trying to be like the Bulls. People were trying to be like Mike. Okay. And right now, the biggest individual storyline, individual talent is Luka, and people wanted to see that. And unfortunately, what they saw tonight was Luka complaining to the refs all night long. Look, man, I get heat of the moment. He has a right to be frustrated. A lot of those calls were fouls, and the refs just swallowed their fucking whistles. When I saw Mark Davis, I was like, shit, the Dallas Mavericks are in trouble here, right? Um, I think the whistle, but hey, man, I can make a case that Jason Tatum got fouled on a ton of shots. They were just not going to. And there's a doctor, Dr. Studer, Brian Studer, who has a channel, and he talked about what Luke is going through in his last video or 2 videos ago. And dude, like we're talking about like potential for collapsed lungs and lung failure if someone hits him hard. Like you got to protect one of your brightest stars here a little bit too. And just the concept of him getting in foul trouble and fouling out. Like I think it's so baffling the way the NBA has gone under Adam Silver. On the one hand, you're not calling any fouls. On the other hand, Luka got 6 fouls. You know what I mean? I think some of them were self-inflicted. I think some of them just stupid fouls. But there's just a lot of momentum killing plays. And I believe one of them came at the end of the first quarter where he strung together successive dumb possessions for the Dallas Mavericks. It might have been the second quarter or the first quarter, but I remember writing it down in my notes where Luka just completely suffocated his team. And it was 3 bad plays in a row that swung the game. And it was just time and time again. The Dallas Mavericks just could not compensate for Luka, and then the number of times he missed an easy basket, like 2 feet from the basket, 3 feet from the basket. You know what I mean? Such hard contested, but my God, like we're used to Luka making these shots. And I just wonder, man, like if you could see an X-ray or an MRI of his body right now, how many places is he broken in right now? If you've ever played sports, if you've ever played team sports, you know that you start micro adjusting. When you have when you have a sprain, like I sprained my foot, I've kind of messed up my wrist a couple of times, right? Like you start adjusting and you start thinking about it, and it does drive you kind of crazy. But I think tonight Luka set a very bad tone for his team. His team was playing well, and then I think he suffocated his team. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be rude about Luka. Like I love Luka. I think he's a great player. But I think tonight he set a really bad example for his teammates. You know, I just really do. I don't think that, and I think his teammates fed off of it. I really do. I think, there were times tonight where he was just bitching at the referees and over, just trying to, like get called. Like there was a time where he didn't even make it down the court, and Doris Burke called him out for it, and I think that was fair. Like she called him out for it. I'm gonna play Luca's post game because I think it'll be interesting to just hear it. And that's gonna be the end of this live. But just give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna give me 1 sec. Figure this out here. My close. Of course, my girlfriend does not have ad blocker. What? Come on, yo. This is gonna take a while. Trying to download a video off of YouTube without ad blocker on this Y2 Mate site, like, yo, this could take like, this is gonna, oh boy. It's funny, I just got an ad for ad blocker. That's crazy. Are you kidding me right now? Yo, if you could see my screen right now, I have stopped 18 pop-ups. Maybe this Luka interview better be worth it like you wouldn't believe, because oh my God. 20 pop-ups. 20 pop-ups. This is the worst site in the history of the world. Okay. There we go. Got it. Nope. Another pop-up. Insanity. Okay. Got it. Finally. Nuts. Okay. Here we go.
In the Navy.
Like one in the middle, like one middle, hand up.
Carlos Revelo de Telemundo 39. Luka, muy buenas noches. Ha sido realista en estos playoffs. No se acaba hasta que un equipo gane 4 partidos. ¿Cuál es tu mensaje para la afición y cómo lo ves para lo que sigue? Gracias.
Hay que ser positivos y ya está. Muy positivos. Al final es primero a 4 y hay que ser positivos.
Jake here in the 5th row.
Jake Fisher with Yahoo Sports. Luke, I know elephant hunting is a big part of your guys' offensive strategy. How does it feel from your perspective to kind of be that on Boston's side of things? And what kind of responsibility do you think you can take to improve in that area moving forward?
It's okay. Every time they draw it, you basically call a foul. So I try to be better. So gotta get better.
Middle here.
Blake Elliott, 105 through the fan. Luka, just take us through, right here in the middle, just take us through your emotions when you foul out of the game and you see your team trying to fight back into it.
I mean, we had a good chance. We know we were close. Just didn't get it. I wish I was out there.
Any other questions for Luka? Got Tim right here, first row.
Tim McMahon, ESPN. Luka, what did you think of the whistles that went against you in the fourth quarter?
I mean, I don't know. We couldn't play physical, so I don't know. I don't want to say nothing, but 6 foul in the NBA Finals, where I'm like this. Come on, man. Better than that.
You guys came out cooking in the first quarter. I think 25 points to like 7 minutes. What happened to make to bog down the offense? What happened to make scoring more difficult there?
I think we should just keep playing, with the same energy. Keep the same people in. We were rolling down there, but then they came back. At some point we were down 21-2 in the fourth quarter, and we came back. So we're going to still believe till the end.
Brad Townsend, Dallas Morning News. We know you've only fouled out 3 times in the NBA. Have you ever had 4 fouls called on you in that short of a span?
Sorry?
Do you ever recall having 4 fouls on you being called in that short of a span?
Not really. I don't think it never happened to me. I remember.
And what did you guys do right to turn around the game and pull off that 20-2 rally?
Just playing with pace. They didn't. We played good defense, and then we played with pace. Just driving, kicking, and that's how we got back to the game.
Tomer here on the left.
Tomer with Charlie with Clutch Points. Luka, you mentioned staying positive. I guess, again, scoring just seems to be a big issue for you guys. What outside of just staying positive can you guys do? Are you seeing the process that you want to offensively, or are there more things you need to see out there?
I think we got to figure out some things. We played 3 times against them now, so we're getting to know them. I think being down 21 in third game and then came back, was really a positive thing for us.
Dan here on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports over here, Luka. I think the number is 156 teams been down 3-0 in a series. Not one has come back yet. Having come so close tonight with that sort of best punch you through, how do you get into the right mindset to be able to get one on the board in Game 4?
Yeah, like I said, it's not over till it's over. So we just got to believe. Like I always say, it's first to 4. We're going to stay together. We lose together, we win together, so we got to stay together.
Ather on the left in the back.
Luka, Kevin Sherrington, Dallas Morning News. 4 years ago, Jerry West had a lot of really nice things to say about you, projected how great he thought you were going to be. I wonder what that meant to you when he said that, and what were your thoughts about his passing?
I'm sorry, I didn't see what he said. I don't know, but he was a legend. We're all gonna miss him. He's the logo, so he was an amazing player. I wasn't born yet, but I saw some highlights. He was an amazing player.
Hola, Luka. Saber cómo estás y cómo afecta el hecho de que entre este partido y el cuarto sea los 2 partidos en los que hay menos tiempo de recuperar. Mañana ya estáis con el Media Day y pasado jugando otra vez.
Sí, bueno, así han sido todos los playoffs de antes, así que hay que prepararse, descansar mañana y a por el cuarto partido. Bien. Good.
Last row, last question.
Mojca, Radio Slovenija. Luka, kako se...
John, first question, back right in the... There you go.
Jason, John Corrales, Boston Sports Journal. After the game was over, you and Jalen had a long kind of embrace at half court. Can you share any of what that was and like kind of what was going through your mind at that moment?
Just, showing the emotions of the game. 2 guys that was excited, tired that, after the game, we're not necessarily saying like one more or anything like that. We're just saying however long it takes. Nobody's relaxed. Nobody is satisfied. But, just at that moment, just told him I was proud of him, and he said the same thing, and that we got to keep fighting. We can't relax, and that was basically the conversation.
Tim in the back under the camera.
Jason, Tim Reynolds with the AP. Kind of along those lines, I know you haven't gone through this, so you don't know what the next 2 days will be like, but how difficult do you envision it to make between now and Friday night seem normal, seem like there's just a game to play on Friday?
Honestly, not too difficult. From the standpoint of last year, we were down 0-3 in the conference finals, and we really felt like, we were going to come back, and we almost did. We was a sprained ankle away from having like a real shot. So, we're not relaxing or anything like that. And, just not even focusing on winning on Friday or whatever, just however long it takes. That's our motto, just however long it takes, that's what it's going to take. And nobody's not time to relax at all.
Standing in the back left.
Valencia King, Real Talk Sports out of Dallas. Thank you for your time, Jason. If I could take you away from basketball for a moment. Father's Day is coming up on Sunday, and I know that's something that's very important to you. As you begin to face this obstacle of fighting for a title, what would you tell your son about facing obstacles and overcoming them?
That's a great question. I would say that, life is about roller coasters, right? And the game of basketball and life and whatever your occupation is, right? We all go through ups and downs. And in the toughest moments, that's when your true character comes out. And essentially being the same person all the time, that's what I try to do in the best of times and in the worst of times. And that's what I'm going to try to instill him, that you got to be the same person, got to be a stand-up guy, through thick and thin.
Back right, fifth row.
Hey, Jason. Jack Simone, SB Nation. There was a point in the first quarter where Drew kind of pulled you guys in. Luka and Kyrie were going on this run. They were scoring. They were getting past you guys and hitting big shots. What did he say in that moment, and how did that, affect your guys' defense, in particular, for the rest of the game?
Yeah, they came out swinging. That was to be expected, that, they were at home. Their crowd was behind them. This is obviously a big game, so we expected their first punch. And it was just in that moment that Drew kind of brought us together and, just clapped his hands like, yo, we got to wake up, we got to lock in, we got to get some stops. Because at that point, they had like 25 points. In the last 5-6 minutes, we held them to like 5 or 6 points. But to start the quarter, we weren't getting any stops. And, we're not going to win a game like that. So we just had to reset and lock back in at that moment.
Tim, standing on the left.
Jason, basically from that point until the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter, you guys had complete control of the game, and then there was that 4 or 5 minute stretch where things sort of went completely haywire, and then you were able to reset again. Sort of what happened in that early part of the fourth quarter when they made that big run to get back into it, and what allowed you guys to sort of reset yourselves and close the game out from there when it got back close again?
Not really trying to look too much into it. The game of basketball is about runs, and this is at the highest level. That's the best team in the West at this point in the time. So they're going to make shots. They're going to go on a run, and it's just all about how do you respond. We talk about it all the time. 20-point leads, none of that is ever safe. It's never time to relax. And yeah, you never want to give up a 20-point lead. Obviously, we wish we'd have got some better shots, took care of the ball. But things happen. It's never going to go how you expect it. And we talk about that all the time. But if you want to be a champion, you have to be resilient in those moments. And, we showed that tonight.
Steve here in the front.
Steve Buckley from The Athletic. Before the game, your coach said to us, if you've been in a fight with someone and you think you're about to beat them, you usually get sucker punched. The closer you are to beating them, the closer you are to losing. Does he say that to you players on a regular basis, and how demonstrably does he say it? And what are you expecting from him the next couple of days going into Game 4?
Yeah, Joe does a great job of showing us clips and things from different sports, right? He's a big UFC fan, and showing us fights of people that I don't know like the terminology of UFC, but put them in a chokehold and shit, and like they're about to tap out, and you just see the guy or the woman who's winning relaxing because they feel like they're about to win, and then you give the other person life. Just trying to translate that to the game of basketball, that the closer you are to winning, the closer they are to surviving, and basically just trying to remind us in the group that we still got a long way to go. We still have to play the right way. We still got to win, that they're not going to quit, that we should expect the best from them from here on out.
We go Gary, Jay, and then Jared.
Jason, Gary Wash from Boston Globe. When they're making their run, and it could have been from the past, oh, here we go again. There's been some times at Game 4 against Golden State where guys were close. What mentality has changed where you and Jalen both said, let's go get this. Let's make plays. Let's make buckets. Forget what happened in the last 6 minutes. Let's go be heroes.
You just kind of alluded to it, that we've been in that situation. We've been in a close game where we were up, and we almost went up 3-1, and then they tied it. And experience is the best teacher, right? We learned from our mistakes. We learned from a team at the time that was better than us, that was, had been there and been over that hump and mentally tougher at the time. And we've grown from that. We really have. And, it was on display tonight.
On your right, Jay.
You were down one at halftime. Did you feel okay about that after the punch you guys took from Luka and Kyrie? And then what went into executing throughout the third quarter? Joe said you guys made a lot of first reads during that stretch. But what went into that as you kind of pulled away?
Yeah, I got to watch the film, but that was some excellent basketball that we played to start the third, especially on the offensive end. I don't know how many possessions in a row that we got a great shot. We made most of them. We might have missed a few, but the way that we started the third quarter was incredible. And, everybody that was on that court, the mindset that we came out to start the third in our execution, we did a hell of a job in the start of the third quarter.
Jared, last question on the right.
Jared Weiss, The Athletic. Ever since Joe came on board, you guys have taken a ton of threes. And we've all been asking, is there such a thing as too many threes? And tonight, you took so many more threes in Dallas throughout the game that even as Luka and Kyrie were scoring, you were able to keep up. What did you think when Joe first came in and was like, we want to maximize our three-point shot margin? And how has that gotten you through a lot of tough times over the years to end up with these kind of wins?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's as cut and dry as we just need to shoot a lot of threes. But with the group that we have and playing to our strengths, being able to beat guys off the dribble, and the luxury that we have is with our starting five, whether it's KP or Al, everybody can space the floor and shoot. So it just puts their 5 men in a tough position. 5 men are usually known to help at the rim, but if we have guys that can attack you off the dribble and get all the way to the rim, you want to help, but we got 40% three-point shooters all around the paint. So it's just all about making the right reads. We never we need to shoot 43s a night, but if we play to our strengths and we space how we're supposed to, it just finds the right person, and we don't turn down any great shots.
Thank you, Jason. Tillman will be right up.
All right. Okay, enough of this. Crazy. All right. Experience is a great teacher, isn't it? It is. You do have to go through these lumps. You do, right? And there were moments tonight where you could literally feel that thing that he's talking about with the UFC thing, where they started celebrating. It's human nature. You're up 20. You start celebrating. You start screaming to the crowd. You start imagining, and then you start to lose because the other team starts to feed off of that energy that you're bringing in. I totally get that. What I do appreciate, and I'll bring this back to something Raptors related, is in all of those games where Scotty just led those monstrous fourth quarter comebacks against really good teams, I think he was testing himself to see what was possible. I don't think that, one of the things that Scotty does is he complains a lot, and I think he needs to work on that. Sometimes his body language can be very frustrated and he can start to feel that way. And I think that he really is going to mature very quickly under Darko and under Jama, because then someone's going to be in his ear, or even, Garrett Temple, and they're going to be able to talk to him and be like, hey, this thing that you're doing here, right? Your teammates are feeding off of that. That's negative energy. You don't want to bring that negative energy. You're a positive person. You're a happy guy. Even when things are not going your way, you're not getting calls, you continue to be stoic. That's why I think really the success of Tim Duncan came down to stoicism in a lot of ways. You couldn't read his face if he was up 20, down 20. Bird was similar, right? A lot of greats, all-time greats, they don't wear it on their face, right? This is something that, Luka's going to have to grow with as well, right? You really, really are going to have to look at this. CM saying, so premature with the dynasty talks, look at Denver. I'm not ready to proclaim that a team is a dynasty because they won one championship, but the Boston Celtics have been here for a while now. They've been a really good team for a really long time. They were the number one team in net rating last year. They're number one team this year by a large margin. And unless Drew Holiday's falling off a cliff anytime soon or they sustain some major injuries, that core is staying together, they will be the number one team with net rating next year as well. What happens after that? Don't know. Last I checked, though, they got to win probably 2, 3 more to be a dynasty. You don't get to be a dynasty because you won one championship. Denver's not a dynasty, right? Detroit 2004 was not a dynasty. I don't think most people consider back-to-back championships dynasty. I never heard anyone call the Houston Rockets a dynasty. I don't remember anyone calling, the Detroit Pistons, bad boy Pistons, a dynasty, right? You got to win at least 3. That's the bare minimum for a dynasty. You got to win 3 in like 4 years. That would be like a soft dynasty. Real dynasties, Boston Celtics, Bill Russell. That's a real dynasty, right? Yeah. Anyways, and dynasties are going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. I don't see dynasties happening in the NBA. I think the Boston Celtics are a phenomenal example of team building, and they have done so, and they have executed so perfectly, in so many places. I shudder to think the fact that the Raptors have sent so many first-round picks out the door, and that, to get Thaddeus Young, to get Jakob Poeltl, and some of those picks could have been used to get a deal done for Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis, because frankly, both those guys were available, right? They really were. Kristaps Porzingis had listed Toronto as one of his few teams that he wouldn't mind getting traded to, and then he got traded to Boston instead. I believe that was the deal, right? Or was it Washington, where he was in Washington? He don't mind getting traded. I'm fuzzy on the memory on that, but I do remember that KP was open to coming to Toronto. I think he would have been great here as well. Yeah. Anyways, y'all, appreciate y'all. I'm gonna go watch the game. I'm gonna go rewatch the game, and then I'm gonna take some notes and write some stuff up about this game. I will see you guys tomorrow for a live stream. Hopefully, I figured out this computer thing. I'm gonna work on my my iMac that broke earlier today, and hopefully I can fix it. I don't know. I'm not a computer whiz or anything like that, but maybe it's something easy. I don't want to keep using my girlfriend's laptop because I gotta go back and forth with it. But thank you guys so much. We're gonna continue to get better with this. The NBA playoffs are almost over now. It's just reflecting on this. It's been crazy. Watch every single game of the playoffs. I remain as confused as ever about what the hell I'm witnessing here. Nothing really went exactly how it could have been. I don't think, had you put a gun to my head and asked me to predict the outcome of every single series prior to the start, I don't think I would have predicted a single one correctly. I would have predicted Boston sweeps, Miami 4-0, and they didn't, right? I would have predicted, a 4-2 against Cleveland. That didn't work out. I predicted the Indiana Pacers to be out in the first round. That didn't work out. This has been a very confusing, yeah. Mr. Z saying you can't use your girlfriend's laptop if you steal it. I don't understand the joke. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I'll talk to y'all later. I'm going to figure out what our content is going to be for tomorrow. If you have any suggestions, if you're a Toronto Raptors fan who ends up, just watching these lives, let me know what the video you would want to see tomorrow. That would be cool. Bro, I must be sleepy because I'm just not getting it. Oh, okay. Let me try something. I got to try this. Hold on. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Wait. Do y'all hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear the crickets? Let me know if you heard the crickets. Let me know if you hear an applause. Y'all hear an applause meter? Does this work? This basically what I'm asking is, does this soundboard thing work? It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, it does work. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna cue my outro music. Hold on. Wait, I can actually do that now. Wait. This music sucks. What? All right. See y'all. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Is it good to exit out music? I don't even know what I'm doing. Probably gonna get a copyright strike for that. Anyways, this is a cool piece of equipment. I'm very, very happy that this podcast is getting a massive upgrade. I will figure out yo, that's funny. Eaton Center music, probably 2000s edition. Yeah, I gotta upgrade that. I'm gonna probably look for a new laptop for real. Having a camera that does not look like it's pixelated from the 90s has been pretty cool. I got to figure out my lighting as well at some point, but we will get that. Can we get Siakam 2-time spin for the outro? I could. So here's something cool that I was looking at today. There's an app or some sort of software, and if there's someone, yeah, that's hilarious for real. If there's someone out there who knows more about this than me, please, like shoot me an email, let me know like what I should get or whatever. But there's apparently a way to do this where you can hook up your iPad like with a pen, right? You hook up your iPad with a pen, and you can get you can just write on it, and then you can hook it up on a green screen, so it shows up on the screen as you're talking, right? So if I wanted to diagram a play, I could literally diagram it, and you would see it like in live. Yo, if I get that, that's a game changer. Every other show will be shit compared to this if I can do that properly. So I'm excited. I think for the first time in a really, really long time, I'm just thinking like forward with this channel. Like I'm thinking like what's possible, and that's the best place to be. Emotionally, mentally, it's a great place to be when you're not trying to you're not trying to maintain anything. You're just like trying to open up your mind to what's possible. It's pretty cool. Anyway, yo, where Clutch Tatum at? I know he's excited right now. Yo, for sure. He's probably found some Boston Celtics fans to be friends with. All right. Okay. Godspeed, Dallas. Please become a team and come back from down 3-0. I do trust Luka. I want to say this. I do trust the big Luka game coming up in game 4. I know that he may not physically be able to give up a really tough game right now, like a really big game. It might be really just physically impossible for him to have a great game. But man, I don't count out Luka and Kyrie. I really don't. I'm not saying they're going to win this series, but I would not be super surprised if they pushed it to game 5 or 6. It just to win 4 straight when the other team has, let me see, 1, 2, 3 games left on their home court. No, wait, no, hold on. They have 2. It's 2 and 2, so they have 2 games left in Boston, 2 games left in. Yeah, so you'd have to win 2 in Boston. It's not happening. It's not happening. Luka is not getting swept. Yo, whenever someone says a bad joke on here, Bob, use the crickets. Okay. We can do that. We can definitely do that. This is going to get real annoying real fast. All right. We're just going to use the crickets. We're going to fade out the crickets. We're going to say peace. I'm happy this thing works. I gotta get a 2017 MacBook, bro. MacBook's it's been clutch. It's been pretty cool. It's been cool working off a MacBook. I just need to fix my lighting. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one. And honestly, I fully agree. I really wish it was a lot more exciting than this. Talk to y'all later. I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm gonna make some notes. Go watch the game again. Next season's gonna be lit. I hope so. I think from the Raptors perspective, I'm just, you know what? At this point, 3-0, I'm ready for this to be over. I'm ready to just focus on the draft. I'm ready to focus on the off season. I'm ready to focus on dreaming big. I'm ready to focus on, free agency, trades, etc., roster building. These things are more interesting than what is happening right now on the court. Luka complaining to the refs. The refs basically jobbing the Mavericks. Dallas is completely falling apart at the seams, and a lot of really boring isolation basketball. This was not fun. This was not fun at all. All right. Peace, guys. Have a good one.